Today's retro spot, we're having a look at the Toybiz, the original mutant superheroes, X-Men. We're looking today at Rogue. I'm sure a lot of people, including this guy right here, probably grew up with these original Toybiz figures. They were very basic in design, but something I gotta give credit to for the good folks at Toybiz, they pretty much released every single character you could think of from the Marvel Universe. Whether it be the Spider-Man series, X-Factor, X-Force, you name it, they made likely figures of it. Caution, may contain small parts, not recommended for children under 3 years of age, or for those still putting objects in their mouths. So if you are somebody in your 20s still putting things in your mouths, like toys, probably stay away from these. Rogue does have a power uppercut punch with an exclamation mark. Also, there's an exclusive Marvel t-shirt offer inside. I don't even have to look at the date. I can tell you that's very likely expired. One thing I really like about the packaging is that we got a nice picture of Rogue on the side. Which kind of looks like Jem from Jem and the Holograms. The figure, I don't know, not probably as nice, but still. The artwork is nice. Speaking of artwork, or speaking of package, on the back of the package, it says pull Rogue's left arm back to lock. Push button for a super tough uppercut punch. There's also a toll-free customer service number. I can tell you probably does not exist any longer. Down below there's a read-up on Rogue. You can read it with me if you like. It says gifted with the powers of flight, super strength, and invulnerability, and cursed by the power to absorb the abilities, motives, and life forces of anyone she comes in contact with. Rogue considered herself an outcast from society until Professor X showed her how to use her abilities constructively as a member of the X-Men. You can see up the top there are some X-Force characters. Up the top there's Cable, Cannonball, Kane, Cruel, Cable 3. We got Pyro, which looks kind of cool. Down below there are some X-Men. Again, many of which, depending on how old you are, you probably have picked up or had when you were a child. Like Apocalypse was a very cool figure. Bishop, Omega Red. Professor X, also a very neat character. This also comes to us from 1994, so if you want to mark your retro calendar as to when this figure was released, 1994. What I am going to do is take a bit of a break. I'm going to get this opened up, and when we come back, you know what happens next. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at Rogue. Stay tuned, there's definitely more on the way. Rogue does come, oh there she fell. Look at her later. Rogue does come with a figure card. In this case, it's an X-Factor figure card featuring Wolf's Bang and Multiple Man. This comes to us from the 94 Fleer Ultra X-Men cards. On the back, just read up there. This is card 120. This is X-Factor Part 3. I think they all joined together, so there's probably a full scene. There's probably, you know, Strong Guy and all that stuff. Strong Guy, I love Strong Guy. That's a figure I would love to get at some point. It would be it's really more so. It would have been nice if Rogue had actually come with a Rogue or something more relative to Rogue trading card instead of what just seems to be like a random throw-in card. X-Factor, I don't know. I probably would not have put with Rogue, but what do I know? I don't work for a toy company, nor do I own a toy company yet. Moving out of the way, let's have a look at Rogue, who's fallen. She couldn't get up, I had to help her. Let's look first at her face. It ain't great. It ain't great. I really don't know what's going on with her face. It almost seems like Rogue's cursed. She can't seem to get a pretty good-looking face on a figure. If anybody remembers the Marvel Legends exclusive Rogue that came in the box set that came with Wolverine and Gambit, Magneto, her face was pretty bad too. I guess likely we can write this off in the fact that Rogue came, well, this is a 94 Rogue. This would have been a very basic design figure. So maybe you can justify that, okay, she isn't the greatest looking figure. You know, but more or less, you probably have collected her, or maybe you still have her in her collection, just because she is so very retro in design. You can see that she's wearing the standard Rogue outfit, being the yellow and the green outfit, yellow knee highs, yellow gloves, and then of course the Rogue style jacket. Also, another familiar trait on Rogue is she's got the big patch of white hair, along with the brown curly hair. The hair seems a little off to me, just the way it's sculpted. She's also wearing a bandana, headband. But all things considered, it's not a bad figure. You know, again, go into it. If you are buying these now, you're probably buying them because you have a sense of nostalgia, like this guy does. So you kind of already know what you're going to be getting with this figure. Now, in the way of her gimmick, well, first of all, in the way of her articulation, she has nothing in her head. As you will see, her head is pretty much sculpted as a full piece. From the head down to the lower area of her torso, that's one solid piece. And then basically her limbs, her legs, and her arms are just attached to that. So you won't get any head movement. Her arms do rotate. At least on the one arm it rotates. It also bends at the elbow. This other arm doesn't do anything yet. Doesn't do anything yet. Her legs go forward, bend at the knee. So even though it's an old figure, I mean, you still get a pretty good sense of articulation. I mean, bend in the knees. Some figures nowadays, then you have bend in knees. So there you have Rogue. Not a bad figure. Now, if you collected these Toybiz figures, you know they weren't heavy on gimmicks, but some of them did. I mean, some of them did have a gimmick to it. Now, what you're going to want to do, I think you lock it forward. Let's see if I figure this out here. You lock it back. No? Ah, there we go. Yeah, you pull the arm back. You hear just a lock. I mean, it's not a great gimmick, but you pull the arm back. You hear that little lock, and then you take this lever at the back here and you push it down. And then you do that, and then she does that. She doesn't do it well, but she does that. I guess really if you didn't want to use the lever, you could just not lock the arm into place, and then just pull back slightly on it. You can do a small uppercut. Not as powerful and destructive, but still a small uppercut. But there you have Rogue. Again, the face is, it's questionable. It's not a great face. It looks like she smelt something or ate something she didn't like. Or it looks like she's about to sneeze, and she just hasn't closed her eyes yet. She's like, not yet. The face is a little awkward, but the figure itself is nostalgic. You can't really find fault with it, and there really wasn't a lot of Rogue figures back in the day. There still really isn't a lot of Rogue figures to this day. But, I don't know. Gimmick-wise, it ain't great. But you still gotta have a little soft spot for old Rogue here. I think on a rating, now by no means when I say a certain rating am I comparing it to like a Marvel Legends or a NECA figure. I mean, when I rate these figures, I rate them as if I'm rating them within their respected decade or year that they were released. In a comparison of some of these older figures, I think I'm going to give Rogue here a 6. A 6 right there. May not be something that everybody's going to want to collect, but maybe if you grew up with these, this probably you might have a soft spot for Rogue here. You might have a soft spot for some of these Toybiz figures. You can let me know down below if you picked up this figure in your childhood. Maybe you even still have this figure from your childhood, but let me know down below. Today's retro spot, though, we're having a look at the Toybiz Rogue with a dynamic uppercut punch. Not super dynamic. There it is. There it is right there. Thanks for watching, guys. Certainly stick around. There are more retro reviews to come. Lots more to have a look at, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.